Fuad Abiad in a serious motorcycle accident. What we know so far, Samson Dowda's 2025 Mr. Olympia plans, and Horse MD goes from open to classic. Is that a mistake? All that plus much more. What's up, desktoppers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another bodybuilding news video. And let's kick it off with the incredibly unfortunate accident that Fuad Abiad has had. We don't have too many details now, but we do have a statement from his wife, Summer Abiad. And for those who don't know who Fuad Abiad is, he's not only a supplement owner, a contest promoter, pro and amateur, but he hosts probably the most popular bodybuilding podcast, or at least hardcore bodybuilding podcast online today, where he has the likes of Ian Valier, Seth Feroci, Keem Williams, James Hollingshead, Ben Chow, a whole bunch of people on those podcasts that are personalities in this industry. And he's really made bodybuilding overall, I'd say, more popular, or at least the hardcore side of bodybuilding, the open bodybuilding. Overall, he's made it definitely more popular through his podcast, through his commentating, and everything that he does. Now, he was in a serious motorbike accident by the sounds of things. There were photos that went up of Fuad Abiad on a motorcycle trip, whatever you call it, a bike trip with Ian Valier. And it seems like the guys from Merrick Health, who sponsor Fuad Abiad, Samson Dowda, and a whole bunch of people. And this statement was put out by Summer Abiad, and it says, on Sunday afternoon on a motorcycle trip with friends, Fuad had an unfortunate accident. On behalf of Fuad, our families, and closest friends, we are deeply grateful for the kindness, prayers, and words of strength you've shared with us during this difficult time. Fuad is currently receiving the best possible care, and we remain hopeful and focused on his recovery. At this time, we will not be sharing any further details and kindly ask for your privacy as we dedicate our full energy to Fuad's healing. With heartfelt thanks, Summer Abiad. So incredibly, as they said, unfortunate accident. It's probably more than unfortunate. It sounds really bad, and I hope it's not as serious as it sounds by this statement. And I hope Fuad makes a full recovery back to full health, and there's no lasting, I suppose, pains or anything like that for Fuad from this accident, and he is able to get back to riding motorcycles or whatever he wants to do with his life. But what definitely concerns me is where it says Fuad is currently receiving the best possible care, and we remain hopeful and focused on his recovery. The fact that it says we remain hopeful and focused on his recovery definitely has me and other people from around the industry very, very concerned for Fuad's, health and safety. And obviously, I'm not going to reach out to the family, Summer, his friends, or anything like that. With what they did say at this time, we'll be sharing no further details and kindly ask for your privacy. So I'm not going to reach out to them in any way like that. But I just want to, I suppose, say I hope that he makes a full recovery. The bodybuilding scene, outside of the main thing is Fuad getting back to full health and whatever that means and entails, and I hope it is in good health, and I hope he is able to live a healthy, successful remainder of his life, because it does sound serious. I hope it's not as serious as it sounds. And you can see from Fuad's Instagram that he put up a few photos, videos, and things like that on his motorcycle trip with Ian and the guys as well. I just want to say condolences to the family for what they're going through right now, and praying that Fuad makes a full recovery. And as details become new on this, we will report it here on Desktop Bodybuilding. Now, on to Samson Dowda, your 2024 Mr. Olympia and reigning Mr. Olympia. Someone asked him on his story and says, what is your plan for the Olympia? What type of physique are coming with this time? And here's what Samson had to say, and we're going to react to that.
Is the plan for the Olympia? What type of physique are you coming with this time? Man, the plan for Olympia is a simple one, man. It's the same plan we've had last year, same plan we have this year. Just coming harder and drier. That's it. Each time since I started this and we started making it to the higher level.
Now, Samson made the exact right move, at least by focusing on that for this year's Olympia, because what was his, I suppose, one downfall from the Arnold is the fact that he didn't come in drier and harder than the Olympia in 2024. Now, at finals, he came back a lot better. And he did come up against, I'd say, all-time best Derek Lunsford. At the Arnold prior to that, the year before, he came up against an all-time best Hadi Choopan. And the year prior to that, he actually won it. And it's sort of been a rotating, Arnold Classic title much the same way the Olympia's been with, Hardy, Derek, and Samson winning the last three. But I think the thing people want to see from Samson is drier and harder. It's a continual thing throughout his career, and he has been able to improve that as well. And that saw him win the 2024 Mr. Olympia, win, what was it, $600,000, the Olympia ring, and then the gold trophy. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And who knows, we might see a bigger Olympia prize money with Arnold announcing that they're going to give $750,000 to the winner of next year's Arnold Classic. So let's listen on and see what else Samson has to say.
They always had a feedback for us. Once, they said you needed more size. Yeah, they did say that to me. Then they said, oh man, you needed more shoulders, and then you needed more arms, and then you needed more back. That was the most recent one. And every single one of these boxes we've ticked along the way. Every one of them, one of the time, and they no longer say that anymore. And now it's, you need to be harder. And so we put all our energy, like we did with every one of them, into that, and we make it happen. So the plan right now, the physique we want to bring to the Olympia has to be better than last year's Olympia, and has to completely destroy the Arnold. And you know what? I can't wait to show you that.
So Samson sounds incredibly confident. He's still my favorite for the 2025 Mr. Olympia, but there is a whole gaggle, if that's the right word to use, of guys that are coming for that 2025 Mr. Olympia. And I think people know, it's going to be at least $600,000 if you win that. So motivation is at an all-time high. Nick Walker's just come out and said he's going to be top 3 at the Olympia in 2025.
I know I always say I'm going to win, but I won't say it, but I'll be in the top 3. Where in that top 3? We'll wait and see.
Which would mean knocking one of those top 3 guys out of that top 3 circle. Now I see Nick Walker certainly being like a top 5 guy at the Olympia, and depending what version of Nick Walker we get on stage, and what we saw a little bit earlier this year, just, in the last few months, we saw a very, very good, potentially an all-time best version of Nick Walker on stage. And if he can bring that to the Olympia, there's no reason why I don't think he can, place in that top 3. And arguably, according to some people, he beat Derek Lunsford at that Pittsburgh Pro. Now let's move on to Horse MD, who is making the switch from open to classic. You can see here in these physiques, 2021 on the left, where Horse MD Marcelo De Angelis turned pro. And he actually did turn pro in open bodybuilding. Most people think that Horse MD has gone to classic and now he's gone to open and now he's going back to classic. Not true at all. He prepped for a classic show as a pro after turning pro in the open, but it never eventuated. I can't remember exactly what happened. I think he might have got sick or something. He got put off. He was a guy that I said could challenge CBum back then, but it wasn't to be at that stage. I thought he should have stayed in classic, and especially with that weight increase as well in classic. And most people saw that coming. It would have played into Horse MD Marcelo De Angelis's hands very, very well. Instead, he chose to go to the open. He worked with Milosachev. He didn't have the same details. You can see here him side by side with CBum. We got to see that on stage, and CBum came out on top. And, Chris Bumstead only competed at the Classic Olympia. I can't remember how many weeks prior. It was around 4 weeks or so. And you can see the difference in detail. And that's why CBum came out on top against Horse MD. I believe Marcelo in that show, Horse MD, was around 4th place. CBum was in 2nd. I think Sean Clarita was in 3rd in that show. And that's no, bad feat. It's not a slight on Horse MD or anything like that. I thought that he placed where he should have. He could have been harder in this show. Absolutely. There's a few shots he still needs to work on. But I don't know if going back to classic physique is the best move. Now, I saw this on his story. You can see he's definitely slimmed down. He does have to lose a lot of muscle. The thing that works against Marcelo is the fact that his legs are so big and that adds so much weight to your physique. He's got big calves, big adductors, big quads. Then he's got big arms as well. So it's going to be hard to get that weight down enough to come back into classic where he could have previously competed. What does help, as I previously mentioned, that weight increase. But when he did do the open, he would open up into certain shots and his waist would look really, really small. And then in other ones, it would look sort of big and maybe a little bit bloated at stages. And he had that sort of round and not super detailed muscle. Is Horse MD able to get that sort of detail he'll need for classic? Because the conditioning expectation in classic is so much higher. So he'll have to come in sliced and diced. And I don't know if his physique can do that after going to the open. Now he was, I assume now, purely speculative, was using a decent amount of insulin to go into the open, because he put on a tremendous amount of size, and also working with Milos Sarcev, who is a big proponent of insulin. I'm not sure if Horse MD is working with Milos anymore. I don't think he is, but I could be wrong on that one. But let me know your thoughts on Horse MD. Is it a good move, him moving back, well, moving to Classic, because he never actually truly competed in Classic? He turned pro as Open, competed as Open. Is it a good move for Horse MD after going to the Open, moving to Classic? Because we have seen some guys pull it off, like Josema, who moved from Open to Classic physique. And when he was in Open, he was one of the smaller guys in Open, I'd say, not as big as Horse MD. And he was able to come down to Classic, which actually I thought was a bad move, but he impressed me. He did really, or he's doing really well, nearly beating Terence Ruffin, a very improved Terence Ruffin, and doing very well at the Olympia as well. And I think he's going to do well again, once again, at the 2025 Classic Olympia, up there, you know, in that top 6 sort of range. But he wasn't quite as big. He brings ultra detail and ultra conditioning, which we haven't seen from Horse MD in the Open as yet. So that's maybe a little bit of a different case. And then we've seen it not work with other guys like Regan Grimes when he tried to go from Open after being out in Oxygen Gym down to Classic, and maybe for the same sort of reasons. Maybe Horse MD didn't want the risks to his health. We've seen his comment here. You can see it on the screen as well, but it aligns more with sort of what he's doing business-wise and all that sort of stuff. Maybe he didn't want the health ramifications of being an Open pro. Maybe he pushed things too hard. You know, we saw obviously Regan went out to Oxygen Gym, where they've been known to push things, you know, to a pretty high degree. Maybe he didn't want that for himself. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is it a good move for Horse MD to do this, or is it a bad move? But anyway, guys, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed the video. My name's Xavier Wills. This is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are out.